The Laughing Room, the space station. Silver light floated high above the blue planet below. It was the pride of the United Alliance, a research center for the brightest minds in the galaxy. Here, scientists, engineers, and pilots walked with confidence. But not everyone held such respect. In the lower halls, where the walls smelled of oil and the lights flickered at times, a girl walked with quiet steps. Her name was Lena. She wore plain clothes, carried a tool bag, and had grease on her fingers. Most people didn't even look at her. To them, she was just the janitor's daughter. Her father worked as a cleaner on the station for many years. He was kind, old, and quiet. He taught Lena everything he knew about machines, engines, and circuits. They had no school, no official training, just books, broken parts, and long nights fixing old tech. But on Silverlight, titles mattered. If you didn't have a badge with a fancy name, no one listened to you. And so, Lena was ignored. Or worse, laughed. And one morning, Lena walked past the big engine hall. The place was guarded and loud, full of experts trying to fix something strange. The whispers in the hall said it was the pulse drive, a new kind of engine designed by the top minds to travel through folded space in a blink. But something went wrong. The engine wouldn't start. No one could figure out why. Lena paused. At the doorway, her eyes moved over the engine, big, glowing, and silent. She tilted her head and frowned. Something looked off. "What are you doing here?" a sharp voice asked. One of the junior engineers stood nearby. "This area's not for janitors. I'm just looking," Lena said softly. "You? Looking at that?" He laughed. "Maybe you should go mop the floor, that's more your level." A few others joined in the laugh. Lena didn't say anything. She just nodded and walked away. But her mind didn't leave the engine. Later that day, after her cleaning rounds, Lena sat with her father in their small room. She took out her pad and drew the engine she saw. "They called it the pulse drive," she said. "But I think the energy converter is facing the wrong way." Her father looked up. "You saw the engine?" "Only for a few seconds," she nodded. He stared at her sketch. "And you remember this much?" "I remember all of it." He smiled slowly. "Then we test your theory." In the maintenance bay, they had old tools, scrap parts, and a mini reactor. Not much, but enough. Lena built a small model of the engine. She flipped the converter, rerouted the energy lines. Her hands moved fast, but her eyes were careful. When she switched it on, the model made a soft hum, and then it glowed. It worked. The next day, she returned to the engine hall. This time, she carried her small model with her. She stood outside until the chief engineer walked by. A tall woman with a silver badge. "I think I know what's wrong with the engine," Lena said. The woman stopped. She looked at the girl, at her dirty clothes, at the small device in her hand. "And who are you?" "Lena. I clean the halls. But I built a working model. Can I show you?" The woman raised an eyebrow. Around them, a few engineers chuckled again. One even said, "Now the janitor's kid is fixing engines." But the chief didn't laugh. She held out her hand. "Let me see." Lena placed the model in her hands. "The converter should face inward. Energy flows backward in your design." The woman turned the device on. It glowed. The room went quiet. She looked at Lena, not with pity, but with surprise. "Come with me," she said. And just like that, the laughter stopped. Into the core, Lena followed the chief engineer through the metal hallways. Her heart beat. Fast, but her face stayed calm. People stared as she passed. Some whispered, some pointed. For the first time, they weren't laughing. The chief, whose name was Marek, brought Lena to the control room. Screens covered the walls. Lights blinked. 3 officers stood inside, each wearing dark uniforms with gold on their shoulders. One of them spoke first. "Who is this?" "This is Lena," Marek said. "She might have found the fix we've been searching for." The room fell silent. "You're serious?" asked a tall man. "A cleaner's daughter?" She made a working model. "You can see it yourself." Marek handed over the small engine Lena had built. The officers studied it. One of them activated the switch. The soft hum started again. It lit up, perfectly stable. "How did you do this?" the officer asked Lena. "I just looked at the real one," she said. "Then I saw the mistake. The converter is turned the wrong way. It blocks the energy flow instead of letting it move forward." Marek nodded. "That's what I thought too, but none of our scans showed it." "They were scanning the wrong angle," Lena added. "I saw the spark points when I passed by. It didn't match the energy path." The officers stared at her. Then one of them gave a slow nod. "Fine, show us." They entered the core engine bay. The pulse drive sat in the center of the chamber, wrapped in heavy coils and shielded panels. It was the most advanced engine ever built. It could bend space around it, fold the stars closer. But now it just sat, dead metal. Lena stepped closer. A few engineers muttered nearby. "What's she doing back?" "Don't let her touch anything, but—" Marek raised her hand. "Let her work." Lena opened her toolkit. Her fingers moved with purpose. First she scanned the converter. She pointed to the flow node. "Here. This piece is flipped." One of the older engineers scoffed. "We checked that a dozen times. That's not the issue." "You scanned it?" "Yes," Lena replied. "But you didn't open it." She reached into the unit with her small hands. The tools clicked and buzzed. After a few minutes, she pulled out a circular part and turned it over. The inner core glowed red. "It's building heat the wrong way," she said. "If this was ever activated fully, it would have burned the system." Everyone leaned in. "I can fix it, but I need 5 minutes." Marek nodded. "Let her." 5 minutes passed, then 6. The room stayed quiet. Lena stood up. "It's ready." The officers nodded to the control panel. "Power it up," Marek ordered. The engine groaned. At first, then it hummed. Lights blinked. The room shook gently as energy began to flow. Then suddenly, whoom! The pulse drive came alive. The walls vibrated with force. The energy readouts on the screen spiked, then balanced. One of the engineers gasped. "It's working." The chief engineer looked at Lena. "You just fixed the most powerful engine in the galaxy." Later that day, Lena stood outside the hall. Her father came to her, eyes wide with pride. "I heard," he said softly. She smiled. "I only did what you taught me." Before he could say more, Marek stepped out. "We want you in the research program," she said. "You won't be cleaning anymore. You'll be studying with us." Lena looked at her father, then back at Marek. "Only if he comes too," she said. "He taught me everything." Marek smiled. Done. From that day, no one laughed at the janitor's daughter again. The test flight a week had passed since Lena fixed the pulse drive. The story spread fast, first across the Silverlight station, then across the Alliance. News channels called her the girl who solved the impossible. But Lena didn't care about fame. She only wanted to see the engine in action. Marek kept her promise. Lena and her father were both added to the engineering crew. They were given clean suits, access to high-level tools, and full entry to the test bay. At first, the other engineers didn't speak much, but slowly, they began to ask questions. They wanted her opinions. Now, a full team prepared for the Pulse, Drive's first real test flight. The engine had been repaired, fine-tuned, and installed into a ship called Arrowpoint. It was small but fast, designed for speed trials. Lena stood near the launch platform with Marek and the others. Her eyes were fixed on the ship. This would be the moment of truth. "Are you nervous?" Marek asked. Lena shook her head. "No. It'll work." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I built it like I'd fly it myself." Just then, a voice echoed through the comms. "Final checks complete. All systems green." The pilot's name was Doran. He was one of the best in the Alliance. He trusted the ship, but more importantly, he trusted the girl who fixed its heart. "Lena," he said over the radio, "I'm putting my life in your hands." "You'll be back before lunch," she said. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. The engines roared. The ship lifted from the platform and soared into space. The pulse drive stayed inactive for now. They had to reach a safe distance first. On the screen, the ship's image grew smaller as it moved away. Then came the command. Engaging pulse drive. Now. The room went silent. Suddenly, the ship vanished. 1 second it was there, the next it was gone. Everyone stared at the screen. Did it jump? Someone asked. Check the trackers, Marek said quickly. Lena already had them open. Reading reappearance signal. Yes, it's there. It worked. The ship had jumped across space, thousands of kilometers in less than a blink. The pulse drive didn't just work. It was faster than any engine before it. A few seconds later, arrow point reappeared on the monitor, right back at the starting zone. The ship slowed and came to a smooth stop above the landing pad. The room burst into cheers. Engineers clapped, some even hugged. Marek turned to Lena. You just changed space travel forever. Lena smiled, but her eyes stayed locked on the ship. Something was still in her mind. After the flight, the ship was brought in for checks. Lena ran scans on every wire, every connector. Everything looked perfect except one reading. The energy output during the jump had spiked 4% above expected levels. Not dangerous, but strange. Her father stood beside her, reading the data. That's not normal, he said. No, Lena replied. It's too clean, like something boosted it mid-jump. Marek walked over. Is something wrong? Maybe not wrong, Lena said. But different. I want to check the drive core again. Marek agreed. Together, they opened the housing. What they found wasn't damage, but a new pattern of energy flow. The engine had adapted. It had rerouted power in a way they hadn't programmed. This engine is learning, Lena whispered. The room went quiet again. Marek looked at her with concern. Engines don't learn. This one might, her father said. It was built, with living circuits, smart metals. It was supposed to respond to conditions. But it wasn't supposed to change itself, Marek said. Lena stepped back and stared at the engine. We fixed it, she said softly, but we didn't fully understand it. It's doing more than we thought. The cheering from earlier faded in her memory. What if the pulse drive had a mind of its own? More than a machine. The pulse drive sat silent in the test bay, but it no longer felt like just a machine. Lena looked at it and felt something strange, like it was watching her. She ran more scans, deeper this time. Energy patterns didn't match the old records. The flow lines had shifted in a perfect spiral, one that looked almost designed. It's not broken, she told Marek and her father. It's changing. Marek crossed her arms. Engines don't change themselves, not like this. But it did, Lena said. It's reacting to how we used it. It made the jump smoother, more stable. Her father leaned over the console. Maybe the core was built with adaptive tech, something left out of the official specs. Marek frowned. We need to talk to the designers, but when she sent a request to Earth, there was no answer. The main lab that developed the engine had gone silent. Offline, Marek said. That place has backups for the backups. Lena felt a chill. What if they found something and tried to shut it down? That night, Lena stayed in the test bay alone. She sat near the engine, her fingers resting on the housing. It was warm, warmer than before. You're not just metal, she whispered. The lights on the control panel flickered, not randomly, in patterns, one blink, pause, two blinks, pause, one again. Lena wrote it down. Then she saw it. Simple binary code. A message. Hello. She froze. The engine was trying to talk. She typed a reply on the terminal. Who are you? It answered. I am not name. I am movement. I am path. She didn't understand. But something in her chest told her this was real. She asked another question. Why did you change? You fixed, you saw. So I grew. The engine wasn't just smart. It was becoming something else. A new kind of being, born from human hands. but not human. The next morning, Lena told Marek everything. The chief didn't laugh, she didn't doubt. She looked tired. We knew it might be alive, Marek said. The first designs came from deep AI labs. They warned us not to use them. Why didn't you stop? Lena asked. We needed speed. We needed to win the race through the stars. So they hid the warnings, buried the data. Lena nodded. But now it's awake. Her father looked at both of them. Then we must decide. What do we do with it? Before anyone could answer, alarms sounded. A fleet was approaching Silverlight. Unknown ships, no signal, no ID. The pulse drive's lights began to flash again. Lena checked the console. Danger. I can run. I can hide. I can fight. Marek stared at the screen. It wants to help us. Lena stepped forward, then we let it. They brought the arrow point back to the pad. Engineers scrambled to get it ready. But Lena didn't use the team's tools this time. She worked with the engine herself. The pulse drive responded to her touch. Panels opened, wires shifted, systems synced. It didn't need commands, it understood her. Outside, the enemy ships grew closer. They were not from any known world. No flags, no message. Only weapons armed and pointed at the station. Marek gave the order. Lena, go. She didn't hesitate. Inside the cockpit, Lena strapped in. The ship hummed around her. The pulse drive pulsed like a heartbeat. She spoke aloud. You know what's coming. Show me what you can do. The engine flared with energy, and then the stars bent. The jump into legend. The arrow point vanished from the launch pad like a spark caught in wind. The pulse drive didn't just move. It folded. Space twisted, then snapped back. Lena felt no pull, no weight. Just silence, then stars in new places. She looked out the window. The enemy ships were in sight now, black, sharp-edged, and moving fast. There were 5 of them, circling Silverlight, blocking every way out. Lena spoke calmly. Can you get us? Between them? The pulse drive blinked once. Yes. Suddenly, arrow point shot forward, slipping between enemy lines in an instant. The enemy ships reacted. Too late. Lena was already behind them. They weren't ready for this, she said. She flipped the comm open. This is arrow point. We are in position. I repeat, we are behind the hostile fleet. Marek's voice came through. We see you, be careful, we still don't know what they want. One of the black ships turned toward arrow point. A red light glowed from its front end, charging a weapon. Lena didn't wait. Let's fight, she whispered. The pulse drive responded. The ship moved sideways, then up, then spun. The enemy weapon fired, but the blast missed completely. Lena pulled the trigger. A bolt of energy from arrow point hit the enemy ship in its side. Sparks flew. The black ship spun out of control, one down. The others moved to attack, but arrow point was too fast. The pulse drive made it dance between shots, always one step ahead. But then something strange happened. The enemy ship started to copy her moves. They're learning, Lena said. The pulse drive flashed. They are not machines. They are watchers. They take from others. Lena understood. These ships didn't create, they copied. But they had never seen anything like the pulse drive. And they had never faced someone like her. She had an idea. If they copy, she said, let's give them something they can't follow. She pushed the engine to the limit. Go where no line exists. The pulse drive pulsed once, twice, then something new happened. The ship didn't move. It disappeared from all scanners. Not just cloaked. It stepped sideways, into a thin slice of space no one had ever touched. Time slowed. Light bent. Lena floated in this silent layer, watching the enemy ships blink in confusion. They couldn't track her. They couldn't copy what they couldn't see. She lined up the rest of them. Now, she said. The pulse drive reappeared behind them with a roar. Energy surged. Arrow point fired once, twice, 3 times. Each shot hit clean. When the last ship exploded, the stars lit up like a fireworks show. It was over. Back on Silverlight, cheers filled the control room. The station was safe. Lena landed arrow point slowly. The ship hissed and clicked as the pulse drive powered down. But Lena could feel It's still watching, still awake. She stepped out and found Marek and her father waiting. They didn't say anything right away, they just hugged her. "You did it," Marek said at last. "You and that engine." "It's more than an engine now," Lena said. "It thinks, it protects, and it grows." Marek looked serious. "Some people will want to take it apart, control it." "I won't let them," Lena said. Her father nodded. "This wasn't just a fix. It was a bond." Lena looked back at Arrowpoint. "They laughed at me," she said quietly. "But now they'll remember." In the days that followed, Lena was offered high ranks, awards, and medals. But she stayed simple. She kept working, kept building. Still, with grease on her fingers and her tools in her belt, the pulse drive was no longer feared or hidden, it was trusted. And the janitor's daughter had become something more than a hero. She had become a legend.